Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm Jason Grubb. I'm here with Rick Stevenson again. This is episode 15. Rick, can you believe it?
We continue to make some progress, don't we?
It's so much fun. This is one of the highlights right here of the week, is to be able to get on the phone, get on a call, get on the podcast, and hang out with you. We just spent about 45 minutes catching up on everything. It's been such a busy week, lots of news, lots of information, even starting to think about the off season. And that's what we're going to get into today. So kick us off with some news, Rick.
Well, I took the time to listen to Jocko's podcast with Dave Castro. I thought it was very interesting. It's not many times you get to hear Castro open up on a platform that is as large as Jocko Willink's platform. I mean, that's next level. That's way up there. So Castro remained as guarded as you would expect him to be. I think we learned some other little bits and pieces about him. Funny takeaway that, Jason, you're going to have a chance to enjoy is Jocko's nutrition supplement company. I don't know the full name of it though, but his energy drink and his ready to drink protein are now going to be official sponsors at the CrossFit Games. So as you cross the finish line, you might be able to dig into that cooler.
Just grab the cooler.
Grab a Jocko Go. Yes, for energy drink. Yeah, grab the ice, throw it on you. Grab the towel.
Yep, grab the Jocko Go.
Energy drink.
Or maybe the Jock Molk, which is. That's a tough word to say. Molk, M-O-L-K.
Molk. Yeah.
And that's,
say milk, M-E-L-K.
At night, when it's like 1,000 degrees on the turf after a big sled push, you know what I want? I want something that is like the word molk. That's the first thing on the top of my head, for sure.
Poured into your
right.
It's a nice way to get that supplement brand out. You said it earlier. It's a pretty big commitment. I'm sure we don't know numbers, but the tie that they have as former SEALs, that those bonds run deep. I know Jocko, I'm sure, negotiated with many people other than Dave. But no one needs to put in a better word than Mr. Castro for that.
Yeah,
for that relationship.
I mean, I'm a fan of Jocko. He's fun to listen to. He's very, very serious. Got a lot of energy. But if I need a good 2.5 hour, 3 hour podcast, jumping on and listening to Joe Rogan and Jocko just talk for a couple of hours. Yep. It's very entertaining. So he's a passionate dude, and he's been expanding his empire.
I can waste probably a half an hour rolling through all of his episodes, just finding one that I think I want to start. Yet when I start, I know it's 3.5 hours long. So
right,
it's got to be the right story. It's got to hit me at the right time. But boy, does he have. Yeah. He's been doing it for so many years.
I mean, sometimes it's just that 15 minutes at the start of a training session that I'm actually just trying to find something I want to listen to. And Jocko is at podcast number 384. So soon enough,
ridiculous.
We'll be there. Yeah. Soon enough, we'll be crossing 384.
So
we'll have entered the 60 and 65-year-old category. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah.
We did see, and you and I had been talking offline over the past week. We saw some peculiar scores in the 45 to 49-year-old age group. Turns out there's actually a couple of peculiar scores in the 50 to 59-year-old age group as well. Looks like Andrew Hiller got word of some of those anomalies. And I think you and I have both watched his video on Gerard, I think is how I say the gentleman's name, who technically and apparently officially, although there's a lot of skepticism around it, did more thrusters in the ring muscle up and thruster workout than me. He beat me by 18 reps, that's really where you and I were like, that's a little suspect. 18 reps in 5 minutes is a lot of work. But he also beat Rich Froning, the 10-time Games champion, and he beat Scott Panchek, who got 81 reps in that workout, which is also just generally unbelievable. But that's Scott Panchek. He is a GOAT he's a legend.
Go to the sport.
Of the sport. And some of the scores are so deviated from the pack that it raises some eyebrows. So I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you may have stumbled across that Hiller podcast. We thought it was I know that I just say we, but for me, I thought it was well done. There were points that he brought up that I didn't even consider. The possibility that this person could be using performance enhancing drugs. You never know, but they're more readily available in other countries than they are here, so it's always peculiar. The weight plates is something that had come up in conversations, which is just really curious. I even try to think, like, could I have done 82 reps in that workout with, say, 95 pounds or even 115 versus 135? And it's still a heck of a workout in that time frame to try to hit 82 reps in that 5-minute mark. So a lot of controversy there, and I think that story is probably going to be ongoing. We may even know more about this next week.
Yeah. Yes, because nothing's official yet. Remember, the leaderboard that we would like to talk about, but we'll choose to wait until the invites go out officially. That's not locked until May 10th, so just a few more days.
Yep.
Since I'm a fan of the sport, and those that know me, I've told many people this. I mean, I'm a leaderboard watcher. I'll sort by each individual test, and then you take a look, and those numbers just kind of stood out. You and the rest of the 45 to 49 are so clustered that, the top 6 or 7 are clustered around 3, 4, 5 reps. And even for test 3A, which was the barbell cycling, it's just a number that really sticks out. And the only comparison, as you said, you have to the 35 to 39 is because we all use 135 for the bar. I will mention this interesting Boz podcast later that he did on the CrossFit Games, the official one. But Boz himself said he watched the Scott Panchik video of test 2, and he was really impressed how he moved back and forth between thrusters and muscle ups and had such a methodical way and just really no stop. That was the transition between the two were really his break. And other than that, he was working. And for Boz to be impressed with Scott, you'd understand. You watched Rich go, not on video like we all have, but live and right in person. And you see how these guys work. And then for somebody to be 10 plus years older than these gentlemen and have numbers that are better than them, it just doesn't look right, even on the leaderboard. So we'll see. But all I know is that these type of these parts of the season are not without controversy almost every year. So we have maybe some. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And fun to watch. I know that there's an entertainment value in seeing how it all unfolds. But when it comes down to it, if someone gets to the games without meeting all the requirements to get there, that may happen, and it may have happened in previous years. But the true test is when you're in person, you have a live judge. That's where the rubber meets the road. And
Absolutely.
That's where I prefer competing. I really enjoy when there's someone right there watching, and we're doing it. As far as the leaderboard goes, a couple of things that you noticed, both HQ, still having some fluctuation in the leaderboard. So it's not finalized, which we sort of talked about. There are 2 days for them to finalize it, if not sooner. But they did mention that May 10th was when it was finalized. I know that you're a guy that does some screenshots of the leaderboards. Have you seen a lot of movement even since last week, or has the movement started to slow down?
In our age group, which I probably pay the most attention to, it really slowed down. There was a lot of movement early on, and we were hearing from each other, a couple penalties assessed here or there. And then certainly it was, once HQ incorporated the correct scoring methodology into the version of the leaderboard that you could look at on the app or on a laptop, then the site, once that was in and the penalties were assessed, it's really slowed down. In fact, I spoke with a lady also in our age group, 50 to 54, and she was commenting on how she was surprised that there weren't much change in her leaderboard. And I just told her I think that the women are better rules followers than we are. I mean, I think that's the only way that you get to that, because for whatever reason, 45 to 49, I know there was movement in 40 to 44 men. I mean, there's always somebody's getting assessed something, false starts, out of frame, you name it, and they're getting hit. And here the ladies they do what is asked of them, and how it shakes out is where they sit. So
I will say one more thing about that. The leaderboard on the 45 to 49, this is where we've got the primary controversy that is on that Hiller video. It's with the placement number 3, Gerard Garcia. So we've got him there. And the challenge, particularly with this leaderboard and why it matters, is that there's a tie for 10th place. So we have positions 1 through 9. We've got a tie for 10th place. We've got Vlad Leshkovich, who I've competed with. He was 3rd place at the games last year. He's sitting in 10th. So is Breck Berry, who I'm not familiar with, but he is sitting in 10th. They both have 275 points. But it looks like Vlad maybe had a higher placement in an individual workout generally, and so he's going to win that tiebreak. But when you're tied for the exact same points after 6 total scores, it's really disheartening to think that, maybe Breck Berry or even someone in the 55 to 59-year-old age group or anyone in any age group would miss a chance to get to the games because of some tomfoolery. And again, we've got to wait for all this to shake out. Maybe there will be changes. Maybe there won't. Maybe it's actually valid, although it feels super unlikely. But we're looking at something where, if someone takes someone else's spot, it's really brutal. It's a really tough spot. We as masters athletes, oh God, we sell our souls to try to get there one time. So
right.
I just have to be glancing at the leaderboard on that. Other news, you picked up.
I was going to say, as if headquarters doesn't have enough going. We saw it was announced that there were more layoffs at CrossFit HQ, across a number of different departments. Also, that may impact capacity. Leading, it's curious that the timing of the announcement is ahead of the in-person semifinals, which kick off very shortly across the world. Now, I know there's a lot of contract work done in a lot of those places, especially the ones in other continents. But still, that's difficult. Put yourself in the employee's shoes. It's a tough pill to swallow. But then also now, all we did was read this, but the head of marketing from Noble, he looks like he's left. He's someone whose name came onto the scene early on when Noble was announced as the title sponsor ahead of 2021 after the Reebok contract ended. And for whatever reason, maybe he's got another job or parting ways, whatever. Again, that's another curious time for somebody who's as much of a face of Noble as he is, that he's now leaving as well. So there's a lot of change underfoot in the companies that are directly involved with putting on our sport.
Very much so. And it brings us to, and I'll let you take the backstory from the podcast. I was going to really quick talk about Legends. So when we think about HQ and the games, and we think about Masters events, I hope that there's always a place for Masters athletes at the games. But I know that the Legends Championship has been working tirelessly year after year after year to become one of the premier top Masters competitions. And I've done the Legends Championship 3 times, 2020, 2021, 2022. In fact, I believe that I met you in 2021 in Arizona. I think it was the first time we met, and then quickly became friends. And they just announced that they will be going back to Arizona for the 2023 championship, December 7th through the 10th. That's going to be really fun. I love getting in. I love being in warm weather. So I think one of the things that was fun about Phoenix in 2020 was that, that was the COVID year. We didn't have a CrossFit Games, and they did hold that event outside in Phoenix in December. And it was, or maybe it was January, I can't remember, but it was just warm enough to compete outside. It was
It rained.
It rained the first night.
Yeah, it rained. It canceled our strength event.
It did. We had no 1-rep max snatch or clean and jerk in the event. But I'll tell you, the rest of the events were so heavy that it made up for it anyway. The Legends Championship, in my opinion, has always been 3 years in a row an incredibly challenging 3 to 4 day test that I've been more sore and more beat up after every Legends Championship than I was at the games. They program some really, really challenging things for us. I believe it was Arizona. We had a thruster ladder that finished at 225. So a ladder. It was a race. It was crazy. I remember we did.
It was under a minute. Everybody was under a minute. It felt like. Yeah.
We had a workout that had, for the 40 plus age group, it was 205 pound. No, 45. It was my first year, 45. 205 pound squat cleans and burpee box jump overs. It was some ungodly amount, 10-8-6-4-2 or 2-4-6-8-10, some sort of version like that. It was.
Yep.
They really programmed some special things, but they do have a qualifier coming up August 16th. It'll be after the games, August 16th through September 10th. and registration will close August 31st. So their qualifier, they'll release the workouts. You'll have as much time as you want between August 16th, September 10th to complete the qualifiers. You and I did the qualifiers last year because they're a lot of fun to do.
You
and,
did.
Oh,
I judged
me and Mike.
you.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
you
what
and
happened.
Mike. You and Mike did them together. Yeah,
That's right. I did it for fun. You had a broken foot. Yeah, that's you just conveniently broke your foot. But
so you and Mike went head to head.
That's right. We went head to head. I was just trying to create some content for fun, but it was great. We had a really good time going through those qualifiers. And I think if you're a masters athlete and you're looking to gain that experience of competing in a larger field on the big stage, and you want to get some reps in, the Legends Championship and Masters Fitness Collective, while we're at it, those are great events to go and compete with some of the best masters athletes in the world. And what's great about Legends, I know more about Legends than Masters Fitness Collective, but as we get details about all these events, we'll share those with you because we dig all these events. But with Legends, they're going to have, for most age groups, 40 spots. Now, some of those spots will be taken from, invites from past winners. The qualifiers to the games get an invitation as well. But when it comes down to it, there's going to be 40 spots, male and female, in the elite divisions, with I think over 20 spots that could be had through the online qualifier at least. So 40 total through the 45 to 49-year-old. 50-54 is 30. 55-59 is 30 total, males and females. 60 to 64, 20 total. 65 plus, 10 total. 420 total individual athletes. Plus, they're going to have teams and I believe scaled as well. So this is going to be a huge event. Really good practice. If you're looking to get really good at the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, you want to get yourself in a spot where you're doing online qualifiers in front of a camera as many times as possible, and then getting to a big event like this so you can experience everything that goes into it, all the adrenaline, all of the fatigue, long days of multiple events over multiple days. I feel like I just pitched, for this whole thing, but it's not pitching for Legends, just saying these are great opportunities to get out there and get some experience. And I know that you and I have done these for multiple years, and they've been amazing experiences, right?
Yeah, the times, they're obviously off-season events. The times of the year work out really well. Masters Fitness Collective doesn't interfere too closely on the timing of the calendar with Legends. So both can be done without overtaxing yourself.
Yeah.
And finishing up with Legends in December gives you an idea, okay, here's who I might see in the age group in the next year ahead. And I still have time to recover and then maybe, work on a few more things as January rolls around, because then the Open starts in February. So to have a higher level Masters competition in late September, early October for Masters Collective, and then early December for Legends is not asking too much of you in the off season if you want to put yourself in these, uncomfortable positions, because how else are, if you like to compete, how else are you going to grow? You need to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Very much. You got to put in the reps. There's no other way around
absolutely.
it. You got to do live competitions to get good at live competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you and I both listened, heading back to the semifinal conversation, because it's still so fresh. Leaderboard isn't finalized, so we're still in the honeymoon phase of the post semifinals experience. But we did get some information from the CrossFit podcast where Bosman was able to do some explanations around where he was coming from with test 1, test 2, test 3. Clearly, what we're getting from Boz is that he digs or he likes the history of CrossFit events. He pulls some things out of the archives, So what did you pick up from that podcast?
Well, I was going to say, I remember that he mentioned for test 1 was a mini version of the 333, which was put in for the individual athletes in the 2014 games. And it was the famous Rich Froning had to walk at the end of the run, which at that point in time, you thought he was bulletproof. And he actually showed that there was maybe a slight hole in the game, which, he has certainly corrected since then. But our version of let's get the order right. Row, double under, run was his take on 333 as best he could, given that it was going to be online and you had to keep it to you in the frame. So that's why we were given more shuttle runs, unfortunately. But Interesting. I like that. And then test
It,
two. Oh, go ahead. Test one.
I was just gonna say, I really hated how much pain I was in work in event number one, and so I had this distaste for it in my mouth or in my brain, my history, my memory. And then after hearing Boz say that he sort of was trying to put together kind of the triple three or a version of that for this workout, all of a sudden, all the nostalgia that I feel about those historical events, I'm like,
Yep.
oh, well, then workout one was really fun. Like now my brain
Yeah.
has literally reprogrammed or reframed the memory to the fact that we did kind of a version of the triple three, and it makes a lot more sense. And so I'm not as mad at Boz anymore about the shuttle runs. I forgive him. I pardon him.
Yeah, and coming up in Madison, you'll run in a more than likely a straight line, and you will
I
not have
mean,
25 feet to go back and
it
forth.
better be. I'm
It'll
still
be
practicing,
straight
but
line out, a circle.
better be.
Test two. He brought up. Now you talk way back. It was 2009. He and a couple of gym owners out there in NorCal came up with this idea for one of the NorCal qualifiers. He didn't call it a regional, but this is way back before we had the qualifying processes framed up as it is now. It was a NorCal qualifier, of which it was an 8-minute, basically choose your own adventure, power cleans at 185 and ring muscle ups. And he loved the idea of putting a minimum work requirement in, and then you design the rest of it based on, are you a gymnastics ninja? Do you like to be under a heavy bar? And he said, think of this in 2009 context. 185 for a power clean was not light, as the individual athletes would now consider it to be. And he thought it was 10 muscle ups at that time. 10 muscle ups was a pretty good separator back in
Yep.
2009 for male and female. So that's where he pulled this from. Many ways to get this work done, as we've seen, and now I've heard and continue to kick myself. But yeah, he's pulling a history. And then test three, I'm guilty of this. Last couple of weeks we've called it DT like or DT style, just because it had that feel to
Yep.
it. He pulled the idea for test three from semifinals for age group this year from the Chief, which is 5 rounds, and then it's oh boy, I knew I was going to be tested. There's air squats. Oh, don't do this to me here.
Push-ups, right?
Push-ups and a bar.
Yep.
And I want to say, yeah, I'm sure you're looking it up right now.
I am looking up
but
right
because
now.
because it's 5 rounds in interval style, that's really where he came up with the idea of it. Even though on paper it looks a lot closer to us like DT because of the deadlift, the clean, and then the shoulder to overhead.
Yeah, I just looked up the Chief. And when I was listening to the podcast, I was at the same time trying to remember the Chief. And I think I've done this a few times. It's one of those workouts that you underestimate because it's
Absolutely.
it's an AMRAP 3 minutes. And you do 5 3-minute AMRAPs with a 1-minute break in between. So there's that similarity. Ours was 2-minute AMRAPs, obviously. 3 power cleans, 6 push-ups, 9 air squats. So while our workout was very different from that, I would say this is really like the Chief meets DT. Yeah. And I bet that the first iteration of this was 3 minutes and maybe went through some testing. Also, the time domain of 19 minutes was just too long. Like we've already done 19-minute workout. It was so bringing it down to that 15-minute range makes more sense with the 2 minutes on, 1 minute off, 5 rounds. Really, I thoroughly enjoyed that event. It was one that really built up. And I think the Chief, I think I've only done the Chief a couple of times, but the Chief has a very similar stimulus where like round 1, you feel pretty good. You got a lot of confidence in yourself to be able to hold that pace. And by round 4, you're dying a slow death. And by round 5, your heart rate is zone 5, maybe even touching zone 6, which I think is actually cardiac arrest. But it doesn't, that 1 minute does not allow you to recover enough. So it just starts to build and build and build and build. And I love workouts like that. I really love workouts like that. So that was really something. But really cool. Agreed with you to hear how Boz digs into the history of CrossFit, pulls from those old journal articles, thinks deeply about what he's putting together. I know that the team semifinals workouts came out, and I know that individual semifinal workouts will come out, I think, Thursday. We may touch on that next week because I think it's fun to really try to dig into where Boz is coming from. What is he thinking? He may just keep us guessing. Really, he may just keep us guessing, but there may be some patterns that we might be able to pick up on that is very Boz-like versus very Castro-like in their, in how he implements things. So, I mean, I love it. I reviewed the team workouts today after I was done working out, and I got lost at some of the workouts. Not lost, but digging in, thinking about how I would do that, and thinking how grateful I was to not be on a team, because some of those workouts are really gnarly. But I do like understanding where Boz comes from. He was so gracious to come on our podcast. I episode 6, 7, 8, I can't remember, somewhere in there, but he was really gracious to share with us his thought process behind the Open and even behind the individual quarterfinals, because they had been released, and he decided to come on our podcast the week after individual quarterfinals came out, and we were able to ask him some really pointed questions about some of his programming and where he comes from, what he's thinking, and he's just a delightful human being. So that was a long rant to just say I'm a fan of the guy. I like him. I like that he has really deep roots in the foundations of CrossFit, and I'm always curious to see what he's going to do with that in his own sort of art form as a programmer.
It's easy to say go back and do your homework or know that he's pulling from the past, but at the end there's just so much. You need to be well-rounded, and in the end it's as simple as an athlete, you're going to just do what's put in front of you. You're going to shut your mouth, come up with a plan, do the work. But
every time,
retrospectively, looking back and tying these themes together, that's fun, gives us something to talk about, and because we appreciate the history of the sport, allows us to dive a little deeper into it. And he'll be telling you where the genesis is of these team workouts after the fact. When it gets all said and done. So listen for those, and then we'll see. We'll see what the threads are. It'll be good.
Absolutely. Well, shifting gears, we've got. We talked last week about semifinals and our experiences, and the leaderboard is obviously still not finalized, but we've got a pretty good idea where we stand. It looks like I'll be going back to the games. It'll be my 5th year headed back to the games, which is just remarkable. I often can't believe that I get to do this again. But we sort of talked about what does the next season look like for us? Because now after semifinals, whether you make it to the games or we don't make it to the games, we're moving into a different season. So for you, what does this season look like? And I know that you're still digesting it. It's still very early, but your brain moves as fast as mine. So I know that you've got some things rolling around in there.
It was a busy week personally, and then you add trying to process all of this on top of it, not performing exactly the way I wanted to, and running up against some really strong, fit guys. I'm going to have a meeting with my coach later this week, lay out an idea of what we want to attack, maybe address some more weaknesses. We talk about it, but you actually have to put the work in. Approaching the off season this year is a little earlier, for one. Both of us last May were not even through semifinals yet. So we have an extra added month. I will look to participate in some of these online qualifiers for Legends, certainly, to be eligible to compete on a team. I know you need to do the qualifier. Masters Fitness Collective as well on a team. And then we have a fun regional competition here in Northeast Ohio the beginning of August. So I've agreed to do that as well. And it's different. Did it in 2019 and it was a good experience. I want to just also take time to have a little fun this summer. There's a lot of things I sacrificed last year, that I just wasn't able to do. And then as soon as I got back, we made a joke about it earlier, but with the broken foot, it really limited my ability to get outdoors and do even more. So knock on wood, I want to enjoy summer a little bit more this year.
Be careful stepping out of golf carts.
Okay? I'm not going to at all. Yeah. No. We're gonna have a wrap on my ankle.
This may be this may come out of left field, but just to ask you, so I know that there's certainly an element of disappointment in not making the games. You and I are both guys that were highly competitive. We do this. We love the sport. You've tasted the games. You've been there, and it's a special thing. It's really special to be there. You and I, every night at the games, we sat in the mosquito net of the outside tent that we had. We had our compression pants on, and we just chit-chatted CrossFit, and we may even have had like a half a glass of wine. I don't remember, but every night was just a really fun. So you've had that experience. Can you put words to the sense of what it's like to not make it? There were 30 competitors in every age group, and 20 of those aren't going to the games in every age group. So it's a lot of people. Can you put words to what that what it feels like. Maybe for Rick Stevenson.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible opportunity, and you're blessed with that when you have had the opportunity to make it there.
Yeah.
And when you haven't and you step back, but you still look at you're one of the final 30 in your age group in the world. Not taking anything away from the individual elite athletes, but there's still 60 of them, 60 males, 60 females from their geographic region. And it's the level of athleticism at that stage is incredible. And it is an incredible accomplishment to make it to the top 60 is what I want to say. But it's still from their geographic region. When you look at our age groups, they're taking 10 from the world, and the other 20, while disappointing, should not hang your head too low, because you still have had a very good and successful season, emerged healthy, emerged with an idea of what I now need to work on. And those are some of the thoughts that I'm going to take forward with me into the off season, because it was not the final goal attained, but not lost at all.
Right. It's you even making it to semifinals, you are in the top 99 point something percent. Whatever that math is, in your age group, there's over 10,000 men. Is that correct? In the open, and you're 30. It's really wild to think about, staggering to think about these numbers. And you're not just the best 1%. You're in that top, some sort of decimal, whatever that is, in that percentage.
We're
just
not
to
going to
make
do the
it
math right now.
whatever the math is. And then to go out and be tested. And again, going back to Masters athletes, where the day after semifinals, you're on the road doing family things. Mm-hmm. You have family things. And you did that, within days after the CrossFit Games. You were headed out to do family things.
Into college.
Yeah, but there's no breaks. There's no days off. When we get a day off, we're training, or we take a day off to make sure we can do semifinals or quarterfinals or the Masters Fitness Collective or Legends or a local competition. I mean, there's just so much on our plate. It was. I think it was important to speak to that there's a lot of athletes that sold their souls, and it's an honor to be in that place, to even be able to compete at semifinals or any of the higher level competitions. For me, I think I mentioned this before. It was dinner last night, and I was talking to my wife, and she said, does it just blow your mind that you're going back to the games? And I said, yes, every time, every single invite. That it's nearly the same as the first invite. That first invite, I qualified, but it means nothing until you see the invitation in your inbox, on your phone, and you're checking and checking and checking. You get that actual invite, and there's just goosebumps that go through your body. It's electrical, and that doesn't go away. It's never a given. People are often online saying, "Oh, Chase, obviously you're going to make it to the games. Can't wait to cheer you on the games." I'm like, y'all are really nice, but you have no idea how challenging it is. We were talking earlier about the deviation from when we're talking about someone else that has a score that's so far from the pack. I won semifinals, and I won by 30 points or something like that, whatever. That's just a pretend number. We're 1 or 2 reps ahead on thrusters, 1 or 2 reps from the other guys. Mm-hmm. And on on event 3, the DT/Chief workout, the guy that got second place in that, I took third. The other person so-called scores is just out there. We'll just leave that out there. But we're within 2 reps of each other. And, my stiffest competition from the games over the past 2 years has been Mike Kern, and he is always right there. It's right there. So it's not like you could just say, Jason, you're totally going to make it to the games. No, I have to battle my tail off in every single workout. Every workout has to go as planned. I even think back to standing at that last rope climb in event number 4. It's the last legless rope climb. I felt like I got punched in the face. I didn't expect this workout to just destroy me the way it had. And I'm sitting there. I can't climb the rope. I cannot even attempt. I know my body. I know if I try to climb the rope right now, I will fail and I will not finish this workout. And if I don't finish this workout, I'm probably not going to the games. And I don't know any of this in actual numbers. That's just literally my brain with no oxygen trying to do math and watching the clock just tick and tick and tick and tick. And I'm looking at the clock. I tell myself, I've got to wait 30 seconds. I get to the 30-second mark. I'm like, okay, I have to do this rope climb. And I'm panicking because if I am max effort on this thing. If I had to do one more pull, I'd probably fall from 15 feet onto the hard pavement or the hard ground. But that's how
you
close.
said,
Yeah.
what you said, how close you and Mike are, a couple of reps here or there, you're doing it in a vacuum, both of you. You just don't know. That's the toughest part about these online blind leaderboard competitions, where you have to sell out because athlete X, Y, and Z, being Mike and the others, are selling out too. And you don't know how everybody's going to shake out because they're not in the lane next to you. You can't see that you've got a small lead. Okay, and I can take my foot off the gas because I just know my cycle time is going to be faster than his cycle time. You can't do that when you're going through these semis and quarters with no one else around other than pacing athletes.
Yeah, pacing athletes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And, one might think, if I hurt this bad, then everyone hurt this bad. But again, you're blind. You just don't know that. I just don't know. I've never seen Mike Kern do this workout with a goblet squat and rope climbs. I just know he can climb a rope. I know he can do burpees. I know he's very strong. So I just take that and I think, well, he's probably going to destroy me in this workout because I'm suffering so much. So you're right. I'm going to give it everything I've got. And I think with quarterfinals and semifinals, I end up so sore afterwards because I absolutely hit the throttle as much as I could, and you're right. At the games, if you've got a lead, you could tap the brakes. It's okay. I remember when we were doing the parallel bar Elizabeth, I did create quite a lead. And at the very end, I was able to just walk off the parallettes and walk up onto the platform. And if that was some sort of virtual blind competition, you bet I would have been jumping, screaming. I would have been, furiously working my way like a panic through that. So yeah, it's never a given, and the invites are always just as special every single year. There's no guarantees. So next chapter is for me. I move on to it's time to start carefully training for the games. It's not really full throttle games training time quite yet. We've got 12 weeks.
Still very early. Yep,
yeah,
very early.
10 or 12 weeks, and it's just not time to hit the throttle and try to become the fittest on earth by the middle of June. So it's a careful throttle, and I've made some changes to my programming, and that we'll talk about that at a future date here. But it was really nice a week after semifinals now for me to get back into training, to have 2 full sessions, to be back in that training mode. The last time I really pushed it was in semifinals, where you're selling it and you are frying your central nervous system it's just a burnt crisp when you're done. Like, intensity sounds terrible after that, but now it's been a week and I was able to actually hit the throttle a little bit in a workout. I think I did 160 GHD sit-ups today, so I'm going to be plenty sore, and I'm ready to be sore again. Just standard training sore, right?
I have had trouble with some intensity in the latter part of the week as well. It just nothing clicked yet. I've tried, but I did do a fair amount of GHDs on Saturday, and I'm still extremely sore to the touching my abs. So, and this is 2 days, 2 days later. So look,
I understand.
The intensity will come back, but again, you and I have very different goals now as we approach, the middle part of May.
Yeah. And so the question will be for you as you work your way through the season. Do your goals change going into 2024, or do you look to that year as, you'll be 52 and in a 50 to 54 year old age group. I won the games. No, I qualified for the games for the first time as a 42-year-old. I won the games at 43. So there is room anywhere in an age group.
Absolutely.
So, you'll have some guys coming up. I know some of the guys entering your age group next
I know.
year. So
I've already,
good luck. You know them. You know these guys.
Yeah, I know at least a few of them. And there's always the 3 or 4 that you go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize they had a birthday too.
I know. I forgot. I forgot this guy's coming.
Yeah.
So you'll have that. But do you think, as you start to get towards the end of this year to next year, plans to obviously try to make a run, because you're fit enough. if you're healthy, make a run next year.
A lot of it's going to come down to health, but yeah, I
Yep.
mean, everything will line up. I mean, I see no reason why not. You
Yep.
throw your best effort out there, and we'll see, did the changes and the growth that we would like to expect happen over
Yep.
this next training year, did it all play out the way you wanted it to? That's when you hope that the work that you did pays off.
Well, as you make your plans, you'll share them with us, right? So that we can get an eye into the off season of Rick Stevenson.
I'll share them with some people. How about that?
Yeah, totally.
That's
totally.
what I'll say right now.
Yeah, I'm
There
a
could
guy
be a
that
text or two that goes out to certain people.
yeah, I share almost everything. They're like, "Ah, Jason, you're so generous. You share so much." I share almost everything, but there's just a little bit that Rick gets to know, but not everyone gets to know. You know, you share, you keep a little bit back because we are blessed to be able to be competitors and warriors that go out to battle. And so you don't always tell the other team like, hey, we're going to throw a long bomb on this next pass. By the way, we're not going to say that.
Yeah.
But we'll play our hand, or we'll tip our hand just a little bit. Well, we're getting to that point in the show, Rick. We're just right on time where it's time for some picks of the week. Last week we just had so much to talk about that I don't even know if we didn't even touch on it. We're like, God, we're already over an hour, so we just skipped it. Yep. So we're just going to get right back to it. So do you have a pick for us for the week? Fire away.
I do. My pick is a follow-up from an earlier pick. So I don't know if that's a cop-out or it's progress. Let's put it this way.
There it is.
I have a legitimate plate carrier. I am ready for Murph.
Okay.
How about that? I finally did dive in. I did go with the Rogue plate carrier. Just made sense. I got some more good feedback from another buddy, and it made sense from a pricing perspective and what I needed it to do. I didn't need all the bells and whistles or the crazy on and off, whatever. It's simple. It's got the weight. Loaded the plates in. One, I will not embarrass my girls as I walk the dog around the neighborhood with wearing my brand new Rogue plate carrier. But
come on,
I will continue to do that with dad pride there. But yes, so far the testing that I've done with it, just a little bit. It is. I'll give a better recap later on, but it's what I thought it was going to be. I think the description on the website was accurate. My buddy's description was accurate. It's functional. It's not too much, but it's enough where the weight sits and how it's going to react to doing pull-ups, push-ups, and squats.
Have you run with it? You've run with it already?
I've only walked with it.
Okay, but it feels good. It's not doesn't
this week. Yeah,
doesn't bounce off your chest. Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't bounce like some do.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So a Rogue plate carrier.
All right, Rogue plate carrier. I want to offer you some sort of dollar amount or something. If you would, at least for the next 30 days, take your dog for a walk shirtless with the plate carrier, just to be sure that the neighborhood knows
and
that they're
film it for you.
Yeah, they're currently in the presence of a games athlete. That's one way to do it.
We need the temperature up a little bit more here in Northeast Ohio. Yeah,
fair enough.
Let's get the temperature up.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm currently in Little Rock, Arkansas, and here's what I found about Little Rock, Arkansas. It's the hottest place on the planet. I've never been in a hotter environment. Literally, I mean, if I were to close my eyes and you dropped me into this place, I would think I was in the Amazon rainforest. It's so hot and so humid. I don't even understand how many clothes people wear per day here, because I'm at 2 to 3 outfits a day. With 2 training sessions, like you don't get dry. So I've got wet clothes laying around drying and fans, and anyway, that's enough. But Little Rock, Arkansas, really enjoying it. Actually, it's really nice. It's 89 degrees and 1,000% humidity. So we're getting it kind of cooked down here. Really fun. My pick of the week is something completely off the topic of CrossFit, fitness, anything like that. I've just been using something for years, and my wife is like, well, why, you should share that as a pick. So it's something called Privacy. It's actually an app, or it's a Chrome plugin or an app called Privacy. So the way this works, let's say that you sign up for something online, and whether it's sketchy or you don't really want to provide your actual credit card. I always feel nervous providing my primary credit card as I'm filling out a form, or maybe you want to do just try something for 1 month on a subscription and you're afraid you're going to forget to cancel it. You use Privacy. It connects with your checking account, and when you sign up for this particular website or a particular subscription, Privacy will actually create a credit card that can be set for a one-time use, like one-time $75 use, or a max of $10, or there's multiple variants that you can put in there. So it will charge your bank account. You'll spend on that particular first month of subscription, and then the next time that subscription tries to ping that credit card, that one-time use credit card, it will bounce. So they will not charge you. It will not charge you, and that's a good rule. It reminds me, I get an email that says, "Hey, your subscription payment didn't go through." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't want to keep that." If I do want to keep it, I'll go log in and I'll put my actual credit card in there. But it's a really, really friendly way to just try things out. And I think it's called privacy.com is where you get it. It's a Chrome plugin. I use it all the time. I use it on my phone. You've got Privacy. Do you know Privacy, Rick?
No, I'm looking at it right now. Absolutely. Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Privacy.com.
It's a lifesaver. I mean, you can create hundreds and hundreds of credit card numbers. There's no limit, and there's no charge. There's no subscription service. The thing is essentially free. They must take 0.1% of every charge, but it doesn't matter, because really what I'm doing is I'm protecting any future charges on this one particular thing. So I love it. Privacy.com. It's been a lifesaver. I swear over the past 6 years that I've had it, I've used it hundreds of times. And you can actually go in and see all the credit cards. You can name one. Like I might be maybe I want a Beyond the Whiteboard subscription. Something. I would just try it out. And now you actually title the temporary credit card that. I could go back through and see all these temporary credit cards that I created over the years. Oh yeah, I remember when I tried that. It was kind of fun. So it's really fun. It's, I forget things. I don't want to set a reminder to cancel a subscription, so I just use Privacy, and as soon as a charge goes through, but it actually bounces, I get an email. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't want to subscribe to that.
You're done. Yeah.
I'm
no
done.
kidding.
So it's a little,
I'll take a
it's
look
great.
at that.
I mean, it's just, that's a life hack that I think masters athletes, we pay attention to where our money goes. So privacy.com, clearly not sponsored. I have absolutely no affiliation with them, but it's just something that's so incredibly helpful. Anything else, Rick?
I think we've covered quite a lot tonight.
A lot of news today.
It's a lot to talk about. So,
well,
I appreciate
with that,
enjoyed it.
We appreciate y'all tuning in to us. It's really fun. This is a highlight of our week, as we mentioned. So with that, guys, if you found this episode to be helpful, we'd be grateful if you could take just a quick moment, jump onto the Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating, or any of your preferred podcast apps. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow the Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older. See you next week.